When you have the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotional response in a healthy way, you have more power than you can ever imagine. Welcome to the Mindful Malibu Morning. I'm Casey Barneson, and this is a space for conversations and growth, for personal motivation, self-development, helping you to live a life full of passion and purpose. And I'm excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome back, or welcome for the very first time. Today, we're talking about emotional regulation. This is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotional response in a healthy and constructive way. And today is when you get to have a conversation. And this is having a conversation about giving yourself the power to act in a way that is serving you of the highest good. This single-handedly could be one of the most powerful things that if you focus your time and energy on not even mastering, because this is a lifelong skill, but just noticing and finding awareness of emotional regulation and how we can apply better tools to be able to approach scenarios and respond to the things that are going on in our life in a better, more functioning, healthy way is really going to just propel you into not only feeling like you have more power in your hands, but just the ability to have this higher, almost like this higher intelligence of being able to watch something unfold in front of you and have the inner peace and knowing that you know how to handle, the situation, you know how to carry yourself, and you know how to respond in a way that doesn't let the person or the situation or whatever's unfolding in front of you have power over you. And I am very excited to talk about that topic. I will reintroduce myself. My name is Casey, and for the past 10 years, I've been a college counselor, a school counselor to thousands of teenagers, helping them navigate transitions in life and preparing as they apply for colleges, and talking about things like career and helping them to function and adopt routines and really focus on their mental health and wellness and be able to not only just navigate life, but thrive in it. And recently, my family and I have made a shift, and we've moved to a bit more of a serene, quiet setting up a canyon to live a more remote life. So with our land, we have new challenges and growth. We've decided to quiet as much distraction as we can around us and really get in tune with nature and get back to a more simple way of living so that we can provide a really great upbringing for my son and give ourselves just the space to be able to live, to play, to grow. I believe very much in lifelong learning, very addicted to self-help and personal development. And I believe that there is a lot that we have to learn in this life. And I believe that we don't have to do it alone. So I'm excited for you to join me, and welcome to the conversation and this community. Conversations are meant to uplift you, inspire you, and we're all in this together. I am learning new things every single day. I'm learning how to navigate this new life and this new world. And I'm bringing a lot of my experience and work that I've done with students in mental health and wellness. But I am also human, and I am also learning and growing. So I'm excited to do this together. So something this week that I really wanted to focus on was finding the things that just make me feel good. We have been responding to the power outages. We've been connected with all of our friends who have unfortunately been affected by the fires. And there's been just like a lot of chaos around us. And again, with our new home and this new way of life, every day is not yet routine. So I started playing around and really getting back to those simple things of incorporating the things that bring me joy in my life. So this is something so simple. It could be enjoying a cup of coffee like on your porch with a new book. I went to the grocery store and I bought flowers, and I wanted that fresh flowers in our home because it's a reminder of stability, it's also a reminder of luxury. It's a reminder of something pretty around me. So we're not in this state of like packing in crisis. And I also started doing small things that I know just make me feel confident and make me feel good. So I attended a Pilates class, and the Pilates class was a reminder of my strength. It was a reminder of something that I could let go in my mind. Physical exercise is so important for us. So I think if you find the good, the things that make you feel good, regardless of where you are right now, it can be really beneficial. So if going on a walk, being in nature, I recently got a cup of coffee with a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time. And having that intellectual conversation with a colleague and a friend and talking to someone really sparked my energy, and it was good for me. I challenge you to do the things that are going to bring you joy, but also make you feel really good and feel really confident. I want you to do something that helps you feel more like yourself, more confident, and it just gets that momentum of the good feelings. So if that's buying a new outfit, if it is getting your hair done, if it's brewing that cup of coffee and giving yourself that 10-minute time on the porch, if it's journaling, if it's meeting with a friend that inspires you and uplifts you, I want you to think about the things that bring you joy and the things that help give you that confidence, and just really make you feel good. Because again, we've been in a lot of non-routine based days, and getting back to doing the things that make you feel good are reminded of your strengths. For me, that is lifelong learning. It's physical fitness. It is reading a new book. It is having something pretty around me as a reminder of abundance and strength and beauty. And those are the things that I have really pointed to adopt this week. And I invite you to do the same. So what is that for you? If you have success stories or thoughts on the episode or any of the content, you can email at the Mindful Malibu Morning at gmail.com. And then you can also follow on Instagram, the Mindful Malibu Morning. So with that, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Today, we're talking about emotional regulation. This is something that is so incredibly near and dear to my heart. And it's something that I think human beings actively work on every single day, whether we're aware of it or not. Think about when you're in your car and somebody cuts you off. And that immediate reaction that you just are angry, or you want to even like have an expletive, or, if you have a little bit of road rage, or it bums you out. That's that immediate reaction. So I want to talk about how we can manage our emotional responses in a healthy, constructive way. How do we work with our emotions and use them to our advantage? We are all human. We have things that are happening to us every single day. And the way that we respond and engage with the world is so important to how we give and receive our energy in the day, how we are able to assess whether we're having a bad day or not. Being able to manage your emotional response in situations will not only give you more energy throughout the day, it'll give you more power. You'll feel more confident. You'll feel happier because you were able to navigate a situation that maybe would have, taken advantage over you, and you would have ruminated over it later. And you have the ability to really focus on this. And again, not master, because we're humans and this is something that will take us our whole lives. And some days we're going to be really great at it and other days we're not. So I want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to remind yourself that if you react to something and you ruminate over it later, you're a human being and that's okay. But every new day, every new scenario is a chance and an opportunity to show up for yourself and show up for how you respond and engage in the world. There's 3 things that you can do that are very simple to remember and how you can help to manage that emotional response. We all have emotions. It's a really good thing. We have sadness, we have anger, we have annoyance, we have angst, we have anxiety, we have happiness, we have joy, we have excitement. There's an emotional scale, and the barometer for what we can go through in and out of a day can be so grand. It's wild. What I first want to acknowledge is I want us to remember that we're all in this together, that a lot of us, if we react in a scenario that we're not super proud of, or if we are in that car and we get upset at the car next to us and we're unable to manage our emotions in that moment, and we immediately have that like shame, that embarrassment, that judgment, like I'm better than that. Why did I give in? Why did I give up my power in that moment? So it's very important to be kind to yourself and also to remind ourselves that we're all in this together. A lot of times we think that our reactions and how we behave is so noticeable to everybody else. And, unless it's a massive blow up, most of the things that we're doing in our day to day, strangers don't even notice. We're all in our own heads. We're all walking our own path. So a lot of that shame and judgment and embarrassment is really internalized. So I want to normalize the fact that we all are going to blow off some steam. We're all going to react in a way that we're not super proud of. And that's normal. So I think not only being kind to ourselves, but being kind to each other, and allowing, again, those feelings of shame and embarrassment and judgment can come out in how we respond as well. When we talk about emotional regulation, I'm just going to start with the word regulation. Regulating feels really restrictive, and it feels kind of like someone's telling us what to do. And I want to reframe this conversation that gives you more power. Emotional regulation is about assessing your emotions, allowing them to be where they are, and then acting after you've kind of paused and decided how to act. It's the assessing, allowing, and acting. Those are the three things that we are going to talk about today that are going to help you with your emotional regulation and how to manage your emotional response in a healthy, constructive way. When you have the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotional response in a healthy way, you have more power than you can ever imagine, because you're protecting your energy, you're protecting you, you're allowing yourself to show up in a scenario and an environment in a way that you are proud of. It's important for your mental health because it helps you to reduce and eliminate stress. It helps you navigate conflict and everyday challenges. And if you are able to do this, you can kind of lift those anxieties. I want to talk about some misunderstandings with emotional regulation. We're not suppressing our emotions here. Emotions are a healthy part of the human experience, and we'd be very boring without them. So I want you to be able to celebrate the fact that you do have emotions and you are a human being and you are able to respond to situations. And that's a good thing. We're here to talk about channeling your emotions instead of avoiding them. Anyone can practice this any day, anytime, in any scenario. And if you need support, there's always additional things that you can do. I think that we can't have this conversation without talking about how do we prime and set up ourselves to be able to walk through our days and go through our emotions in a way that isn't erratic and completely overwhelmed and just reactive. And I think that when you feel your body and your mind and set up your day in a sense that you're more aware of your mood and where you're at in the world right now, and what practices help to kind of add more fuel to your body and your mind to where you're not depleted. When we're in that depleted mode and we are just responding to crisis, or we're responding to the things that are around us and we're reactive, that's when we're in that negative, like empty, low fuel zone. So have you ever been at the grocery store or, just buying something, and it could be at CVS or something simple, and someone in front of you is taking a long time, or it's just something like maybe they're taking a longer time to get your coffee right, or maybe they don't get your coffee order right, and you walk outside and you are just infuriated. You're infuriated over this situation, and in hindsight, it's not that big. You can always go back and order another coffee, and the next 5 minutes, another cash register will open up and you'll be on and about your day. But when you're in that space, if you've ever paused and kind of been really real with yourself of, why am I so infuriated at the fact that this barista got my coffee wrong? It's not the barista. It's obviously not the coffee. You and I both know that when we've looked back and reflect on scenarios like that, it's because of a lot of other things that have built up over time, or we haven't been taking care of ourselves or our bodies or our minds. And that coffee and that extra 10 minutes at the grocery store is when we just absolutely lose it, because we haven't taken that time and attention to be able to dedicate towards giving us that fuel, giving us that energy to be able to navigate our emotions and just like the daily annoyances and the things that are inevitably going to come about in our days. Of course, in a perfect world, you would, get your workout in, you'd be able to get a full 8 hours of sleep. You would be able to have a nourishing breakfast. You probably wouldn't have had any alcohol the night before. Your kids would be off to school. You'd be able to show up on time for your job, and all of these kind of domino things would be happening perfect in your world. That's not typically how we operate. My son is almost going to be 1 in a few weeks, and his nighttime routine is still adjusting. So very much some nights we get a good amount of sleep, but inevitably Other nights we have just very limited hours of sleep. In the mornings, if I have things that I have to tend to or an appointment that I have to get up for, I may not be able to have my perfect morning. And then certainly with the power outages and everything around us, it has been less than ideal to be able to wake up and start my day because we're turning on a generator, we're assessing fire maps, we're making sure we're okay. So, I think it's important to be realistic about the life that we're living right now, what our landscape is, what our days are looking like. And that can go back to those systems of like the calendaring. So what do I have going on in my week? Do I have a particularly busy week? Do I have a lot of events that are unexpected? Or do I have a more routine-based week? And depending on what my week looks like, how can I prime my body and my mind to be able to then set up myself to where I can handle these emotions and go through this process? So for me, I know when I drink more water, when I am able to work out, when I'm able to go for walks in nature, when I'm able to journal, when I'm able to cross all those kind of mundane little life tasks on my list off, I just feel better. I feel better. I'm able to be a nicer human being in the world. And that's when I'm better able to handle something new that comes at me, or a grumpy person, or a disturbance or annoyance in my day to day. So I want you to be really realistic about, and this can shift. One day you may wake up and realize that you have kind of a more easier routine-based day. Another day you may need to be reacting to something. So I think it's important to always do that audit. What's happening in my life right now? What's happening in my day right now? And then how can I, again, set up systems in place to where I am able to feel my body and my mind in a way that I can handle my emotions and go about my day? So doing that life audit is important, that day audit, and then thinking about going back to like what helps you set up for success. We are all human beings and we give and receive our energy in very different ways. So if you go back to that like extrovert, introvert, that's that MBTI, that personality assessments. If you're an extroverted person, you get energy from being engaging in social settings and interacting with other people and being in a very active, engaging social scenario. That gives you energy. Whereas if you're an introverted person, you get your energy by being able to slow down, have that isolated, that reflective, that calming space where you are able to disconnect and be on your couch at home. And so I think it also goes back to when you look at your days and your time and energy, what interactions are you engaging in more? So if you're a very introverted person and your life is demanding you to engage with the world around you more than you care to, you're going to have to do a little bit of extra work to find the space to be able to allow yourself that re-energizing healing time. That's that time where maybe you know that you can add an extra hour where you take a bath, you read a book, or you sit in your car. Those are the things that you can do to kind of get your energy back. And then if you know that you can't realistically get sleep, for example, maybe you can take naps, maybe you could do some breathing exercises. If you can't do any of those, maybe instead of doing a hardcore workout, you do a calming one like a yoga. And again, just being really realistic about where you are in your life and what can you do to set up to be able to approach your day to handle our emotions. I think a lot of times we talk about emotional regulation, but we don't really talk about like all that it takes to prime your body and your mind to be able to get to that emotional regulation stage. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and do that life audit, your day audit. So we have an ability to change and adapt. We have the ability to practice the skill of emotional regulation that can be improved over time. And this, again, is something that maybe you practice in a very simple setting when you're not supercharged. Maybe you are at that grocery store and there's somebody in line in front of you, and normally you would get annoyed. And that's when we can practice those 3 A's that assess, allow, and then act. The assessing part is a way to also help you take yourself out of the situation. If someone is showing up to work and they're a bit erratic, or their energy is chaotic, or they approach you confrontationally, or you're in a scenario where there's a lot of chaos or a lot of noise, the assessing part is kind of more like taking yourself out of it. I'm going to look around the room. I'm going to notice what's happening. So it's kind of like if there's an emergency and you show up to the emergency site first, you first really need to assess. You need to take a look around and think, who is hurt initially? Do I need to call 911? Like you're taking in the scene. So the assessing part is where you can kind of take that pause and look around and think about what's happening in front of me, what's happening around me, and just kind of noticing and taking a lay of the land. The allowing is big here. The allowing piece is the allowing your emotion. You may be feeling angry, frustrated, and I think the allowing is the biggest piece here. The allowing gives you the power. It allows you to get rid of that shame, that judgment, because we are human and we are going to have our emotions. And it can be very annoying to be in line at the grocery store and have somebody in front of you. And it can be really frustrating if someone is yelling at you or someone's not engaging with you. So allowing yourself to feel that emotion gives you back that power. We're not trying to suppress emotions here. We're not trying to change it. You are allowing it. And the allowing it gives you the power and the space to be where you are. And that's a very powerful thing. And then I want you to act. So you've assessed the scenario, you've allowed yourself to be in the state where you are, and then you have the power and the choice to act how you want. Now, within those 3 steps, you have time to pause, you have time to think, to breathe. This isn't always going to be perfect. There's going to be a scenario that happens and you just react. And again, be gentle with yourself. Don't pass judgment. Be where you are. But this is where you get to practice it. If you have allowed the emotion, you've assessed the scenario, and then you get to decide how you act, what if you choose an action that is one of higher power? What if you choose one that is in a little bit of a higher intelligence because you have practiced the ability to allow the emotion and then act in a way that you're proud of, act in a way that is productive, act in the way that is protecting your peace by not engaging with someone or something that is no longer serving you or is negative for you? The acting part is where you get this power. We may not be able to choose what is happening to us. We may be in a job, or we may be in a scenario. We may be in a state, in an area that we can't immediately leave. But you do have the power to act and decide how you respond to it. And that's really big here. A lot of times people make noise, and the biggest noise is you think the most powerful in the room, and the most powerful person in the room can oftentimes be the most silent, because it takes more time and energy to be able to allow what is happening in front of you unfold if you know that it's not great for you, to refrain from responding and just reacting to it. It's important for you to preserve your peace, preserve your power by choosing that higher path of acting in a way that serves you. And it might feel really frustrating, like, oh, I really wish I could have said something to that person. I am ruminating it over later. I should have written that email in a different way. But it really forces you to, it puts yourself first. And it might not feel that way in the moment, but it really, really does. We had a rule in counseling that a mentor told me that whenever we would get an angry email from a parent or, from a colleague or something, instead of just replying to that email, you would take the time and you'd maybe write it in your notes page on your phone so it wasn't on your email. If the email response that you wrote was printed in the newspaper the next day, like, would you be proud of it? Would you be sued for it? Would you be ashamed of it? And in the time that it takes for me, in the time that it took for me to reflect and then respond to an angry parent email in a way that I was proud of, to where if it was printed or if it was passed around the office, if it was published in a newspaper or another community member read it, would this be detrimental to my career? Would I be embarrassed about it? Just that practice of rethinking how I would write the email and then present that email, that was practicing that assessing, allowing, and acting. Because I assessed the situation, I allowed myself to be angry and frustrated about it, and then I acted in a way that I was proud of it. And I also gave myself space between reacting and responding to that email. That space is that hidden one in here. The space and that pause is kind of that hidden tool that isn't one of the A's, but it is so important. Even if you just take one breath between responding to someone who's yelling at you, even if you take one breath to responding to someone who is angry in front of you, or responding to a really deep question that your child or someone next to you is asking that you're really grappling with sharing with them because you have heavy emotions. The pause and the breath is something that you can absolutely adopt to give yourself that space to act instead of just react. That's really key and really big here. Emotional awareness is another component that is really helpful. Really getting in touch with our own emotions and understanding how we feel and unpacking how we're feeling and why we're feeling the way we are is something really important. Journaling and verbalizing your feelings and unpacking them in a non-judgmental way is a really phenomenal way to develop emotional awareness. If you know yourself better than anyone else, then you're going to be able to navigate and handle situations that are thrown at you. And this is when you can write in your journal, you can write down all those negative, crazy thoughts, you can throw it away, you can verbalize it with somebody that you trust, you can go to therapy. There's a lot of different things you could do. You can go to the top of the mountain and scream from it. You could take a walk in nature. You can, whatever it is that might work for you. But having that emotional awareness and being able to understand your own thoughts and feelings is a big key to emotional regulation and getting to that higher intelligence and that higher point of being able to respond to this. Speaking with a therapist, journaling, reading self-development books, showing up and listening to podcasts, focus on mental health and wellness and living. These are all things that are going to help you to tap more into who you are and be able to respond to the situations around us. But again, we're human, we're not perfect, and we will get annoyed in the grocery line and we will yell at someone that we love. And it's okay to not shame yourself, but really unpack the scenarios that are completely boiling over and pay attention to the ones that you successfully navigated. And ask yourself, what did I do in that moment? What was it about this? If you find that there's a relationship that's incredibly unhealthy, if you notice that you're having a really hard time with a specific area of your life, if that's with a specific relationship or a response to something, that might be a sign that there is something greater. There's greater work to be done. There could be some deeper work to be done. There could be deeper trauma, some stuff that we've shoved down from our childhood, or, things that we just aren't really at peace with that are showing up in other ways. So a part of that life audit is also to get really honest about you and yourself. And if there are scenarios that you find you're having a really hard time being able to navigate and being able to regulate your emotions, after doing very simple kind of tools and the assessing, allowing, and acting, then that's something to pay attention to. That could be an area worth putting a little bit more time and energy into. We've talked a lot about emotional regulation today and unpacked it in a few different ways. And I really hope that this conversation has been helpful and inspiring. Even just the fact that you're listening to this and you have an awareness gives you more power than you did just kind of walking through your days. So remember to give yourself that energy and prime your body and your mind. Remember the very simple, just 3 A's of assessing, allowing, and acting, and give yourself some grace as you navigate this. If you found today's episode helpful and you would like to listen to more, please leave a review and a rating, and also subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast so that you never miss an episode. Episodes are released every single week. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Mindful Malibu Morning. And again, you can always write in, share a success story or a topic that you'd like to listen to the Mindful Malibu Morning at gmail.com. With that, I hope you have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and have a great one.